of it is going to come from just the simple fact that you no longer have to do anything or be anybody to become famous. You don't have to have a talent, right? Social media has now lowered the standard. We used to complain about there being gatekeepers in the music business. We used to complain about there being gatekeepers everywhere. And then now when you remove the gatekeeper is what kept the content at a certain standard.
Yeah.
So now we've removed the gatekeepers. The floodgates are open through the internet. Everybody can make money, right? But what's the cost, right? So yeah, we'll get you paid, but now you're going to get paid to do what? What makes you popular? Do you have a talent? Are you a writer? Are you an actor? Do you dance? Do you play basketball good? Are you like, a good criminal attorney? Like, what makes you a situation? What makes you important? And social media has now changed that, where you can now become famous in an instant. You can become famous for essentially, farting on camera. And that's the situation that we're in right now. So now everybody says, well, damn, if this person was able to do that, let me just see if I can up the ante. And we talked about this on another thing. It's like everybody keeps trying to up the ante, keep trying to find the next ridiculous thing to do, because you no longer have to have true talent to become famous anymore. You don't have to be talented to make money. And you could be in a situation that's so destitute that you're willing to do anything, right? Because you're looking at, a crisis of economics in our country, especially if people in our community, and people are looking to do anything to change it.
So that leads me to ask, does there need to be some sort of gatekeeping, some sort of age requirements, or some sort of test a person has to pass in order to be a part of this culture, to be an influencer, I should say?
I don't even know if it's that. I think what has to start to happen is, in other communities, you have institutions that are created to ensure that you cannot defame, you cannot speak against, you cannot.
But that is sort of like a gatekeeper.
Yeah, and nobody else can do it either. So not just you and your community, not just the gay community, not just you being gatekeepers for yourselves, but you also make sure that no other communities can exploit or can do things that are negative to your community. And I don't think that we take it serious enough. See, like how those folks, they're not going to let you say certain things about their community. They'll cancel you. They'll make sure every business is turned on your back. You can't do that. So we have to start looking at stuff the way that they look at stuff. We have to say, okay, if we're not going to control our culture, if we're not going to control the way things are seen, like, we have to start making the standards and say, okay, this is no longer acceptable for us, because it's going to destroy us. It's going to put us into a situation where we become useless in society. That's what we're. And when that happens, the only thing left is slavery back again. And people don't really seem to understand that. Like if you look down the situation for those people who have kids, like if you have kids, and you should be terrified if you have children right now. You should be terrified if you have children of color. If you have black children, let me just put it that way, very, very simply. If you have black children, you should be very, 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 very afraid of what's to come for them. Because at the end of the day, it's like you're in a situation where everything that people are seeing about us is negative. If I go in my yard and I get bit by a garden snake, how many times do I need to get bit by a garden snake for me to realize that I can get bit by a snake? It now becomes snake spite. So if every time I see a music video and it has guns flash and so forth and so on, and people get robbed or whatever, or every time we turn on the situation, we see a rapper getting killed, a rapper being murdered, a rapper being robbed. We see, black women out, acting, uncouth or whatever we might want to say, that unladylike. If we see all these things going on, this is no longer like, oh, all black people aren't like that. How are you going to prove that it's not? You have overwhelming evidence that that's how it is. So it's like, so people have now started to accept that, hey, there's something inherently wrong with you guys' culture. And now you're going to start seeing a situation where no one's going to want to deal with us. And if you start looking at how the situation really is once you start to add immigration into that, right? So before you had to only deal with one demographic. Now you add immigration and you got folks coming from all over the world, and now they're being programmed for them to tell us that you still ain't shit. So now you might have been fighting one demographic, now you have to fight them all. So how does that going to work for us in the future?
To kind of bring it back into more into music, you know, when hip hop is at number one, you know, and catalogs are being bought up, and then AI is coming into the scene, you have to really ask yourself, where is this going? You know, because it's almost like a purging process is happening. You know, what happens when all of these things go into full effect? What happens when we don't own any music anymore at all? When all our catalog is all bought up? When AI is involved all the way, fully integrated all the way, and hip hop is no longer number one, what happens then? You know, it's like we're losing out. What happens to the culture?
Culture goes away.
And then what happens? What happens to the entrepreneurs, the businesses, all of these things?
That's what people are not understanding, man. Is that if you don't control the culture, if you continue to let other people control the culture, control the narratives, if we don't take control of the culture, they're going to take it from us. They're going to say they're going to deem it as no good to society.
Yeah.
That's what folks are not really understanding.
They're going to gentrify.
You see, that's real shit. That they're going to gentrify, like they're basically going to take that culture from you and gentrify the shit. You know, because they're no longer going to need you to create it. Right. Like that's really that's what it's boiling down to. Like you're seeing it happen in real time. We talked about it with the whole SAG and AFTRA strike. They can do it without you. I sent you a video last week, a few days ago, of that first AI movie trailer that was done in Midjourney, and a few other joints. Yep. Like you can't even tell the difference. You can't tell the difference. You would have thought that was totally shot in a Hollywood situation. That was all prompt engineering. People are not understanding what's going on, man. And we're trying to really let these new artists understand, like, listen, you got to step your game up. You know, it's not only just, you know, about making some money, but it's also about making sure that you have to realize that our music is too influential. Our music is too influential for us not to have any social responsibility anymore.
You know, Jug, we try to have these conversations that people aren't having.
Oh no,
you know,
no one wants to really hear it. You know, people just want to say, hey, how do I make some money?